Hi everyone, we are going to be reading chapters 6 and 7 in Flying Solo today. If you have your book with you, feel free to listen to me read and follow along in your book. If you don't have your book with you, please listen to me read the story so that you are able to answer the questions. So, we left off right after Mrs. Muchmore. We are on page 20, 7:56 a.m., the principal's office. Erwin Peacock sat in his office listening to Peggy Ransom. He had the door closed and a rubber band wrapped tight around his thumbs. Peggy was the mother of a student, Christopher, in Mr. Fabiano's sixth grade class. More important, she was president of the PTA. I'll tell you this. A lot of parents in this district are concerned about that sixth grade team of yours, Mr. Ransom said. Deeply concerned. Pat Kiefer is one teacher who never should have been hired. Sally Walker is in that class, and her mother is a close friend of mine, and according to her, Pat Kiefer does not teach. Every day after school she asks Sally, "What did you learn today?" And Sally stares at her. Learn? Huh? Mr. Peacock leaned forward and rubbed his temples. As a principal, he listened to lots of difficult parents, but there was nobody worse than Peggy Ransom. He dreaded his weekly chats with this woman, with her Jaguar, her $500 leather jackets, the rings that sported enormous diamonds on both hands. He closed his eyes. 98% of parents in the district were wonderful, but the other 2% made him wish he worked as a farmer or as a forest ranger. Diana Friedman is supposed to be your superstar, but she's gone to conferences half the time, Mrs. Ransom was saying. I mean, what good is she if she's always out of the classroom? Marina Riley has her kids brainwashed into following every liberal cause she can get her hands on. And then you've got that cutie pie, Sal Fabiano. There's something very strange going on in that class. As far as I can see, he doesn't do any skill work at all. The kids like him, sure, because he doesn't make them work. What's not to like? From what my son tells me, all the kids do is read and write. Whatever happened to teaching spelling or grammar? Erwin Peacock tried to make it look as if he were listening hard. The woman's voice was about as pleasant as a chainsaw. He could feel it cutting into him. Okay, Peggy, I hear you, Mr. Peacock said, breaking the rubber band wrapped around his thumb. But my hands are tied. There's no way I can make any changes in that sixth grade team, especially not now, at the end of the year. You must. I think it's disgraceful, Peggy Ransom said, storming out of his office. She swept past Mrs. Pierce's desk and knocked a stack of phone messages onto the floor. One of the phone messages fell against the radiator, where it got caught, out of sight. I've got a good mind to pull my son out of this place and put him into a decent private school, Peggy said loudly, where teachers understand the 3 R's and aren't afraid to teach them. Mr. Peacock called after her. I hope you don't, but you have the right. And thinking, I should only be so lucky. 8:12 a.m. First bell. Rachel stood with Missy on the playground. At exactly 8:10 a.m., she gave Missy a see you in a minute look and slipped in through the door. She had almost reached her classroom when the first bell rang. Rachel loved coming to class early because it gave her a few quiet moments alone with Mr. Fabiano. He would stand by her desk, talking to her, never pressuring her to talk back. And it was a pleasure simply to be near him and feel his words wash over her. Now she entered room 238 and looked around. But the room was empty. Where was Mr. Fabiano? Rachel wondered. Then she spied the large block letters on the blackboard. Class 6238. Good morning. You will have a substitute teacher today. I know you will give Mrs. Muchmore the same respect and attention you would give to me. You all know the routine for Friday. See you on Monday, Mr. Fabiano. Rachel stamped her foot. and the sharp sound echoed in the deserted classroom. Substitute! As if anyone could substitute for Mr. Fabiano. It was the worst, most depressing way to start the day. And it was a Friday, which meant 3 whole days without Mr. Fabiano. The weekend was ruined. She drifted over to where Tommy Feathers used to sit. A photograph of Tommy hung on the wall, but Rachel turned away from the grinning face and glanced at his old desk. She reached down and quickly touched the surface, running her thumb over the place where a heart had been carved into the wood with the letters TF plus RW crudely cut inside the heart. Missy came into the room and stared at the blackboard. "Oh no, a sub," Missy said, reading. "What a bummer." Rachel and Missy had been best friends since 2nd grade. Before Rachel stopped talking, they'd get on the phone and lose track of time in deep talks about boys, music, religion, God, ghost, ESP, telepathy. They agreed that it was possible to read another person's thoughts, if you were close enough. Missy was fat. Rachel often wondered if Missy's own problems helped her to understand Rachel's. Missy knew what it was like to have kids point fingers, make nasty comments, whisper behind her back. She knew what it was like to have something eating at you from the inside. More than anyone else, Missy accepted Rachel's silence. Other kids got all nervous and chatty around Rachel. Not Missy. When they were together, Missy didn't try to fill the dead space with lots of empty chit-chat the way most kids did. The silence always felt light and easy between them. Loud laughter outside the door. Karen and Jasmine raced into the room. "I won," Karen said, laughing and breathing hard. "They won," Jasmine said, pointing. "Hi, Missy. Hey, Rachel." Last fall, when Rachel stopped talking, she stopped smiling too. Now she gave the girls a small wave as a gesture intended to mean hello. At the beginning of the year, Rachel considered Karen and Jasmine close friends. After Rachel stopped talking, the other 2 girls still acted friendly towards her, but things were somehow different now. "Anyway," Jasmine was saying, "I would have beat you if you hadn't tripped me." "Tripped you?" The girls took seats next to each other on the other side of the room. "You tripped yourself." Christopher Ransom lumbered into the room. "I'm ready to go home now," he announced, flopping down into his desk and stretching out 2 big feet. Christopher's mother was president of the PTA. His father was a heart surgeon. Christopher liked to brag that his father cut people up. He was rich, loud, and obnoxious. Jessica and Vicky came in next. Rachel thought they looked a little funny together since Vicky was so short and Jessica was the tallest kid in the class. "Oh, a sub," Jessica groaned, seeing a note on the blackboard. "Fact," Christopher smirked. He rubbed his hands gleefully. And what better way to end the week than tormenting some brain-damaged sub? Christopher's voice put Rachel on edge. The kid was annoying beyond belief. To help tune him out, she watched the rest of the class enter the room. Tim and Jordan ran in, laughing, with Robert and Corey right behind. Robert and Corey were part of a set of triplets. The 3rd triplet, Josh, was in Mrs. Riley's class. Then Rhonda came in and plopped down next to Missy. "My last day," Bastan shouted as he entered the room. "I thought you said Monday was your last day," Karen said. "My dad changed plans," Bastan said. "Farewell. I'm leaving you for the beaches of Hawaii." "You'll look great in a hula-hula skirt," Jessica told him. "You should talk, string bean," Bastan retorted. "Remember that time you wore a dress? I laughed so hard I almost peed my pants." "Shut up, Bastan," Rhonda said. Bastan had a mean streak, and Rachel didn't trust him. He had moved into town just before the beginning of 6th grade, and immediately made his presence felt by teasing kids in class. He invented nasty little nicknames for just about everyone. Missy was Thunder Thighs, Vicky the Shrimp, Jessica the String Bean. He called Tommy Feathers the Professor, or sometimes Dr. Drool. Sean O'Day walked into the room and quietly took his seat in the back of the room. He was slender with a pale, sleepy complexion. Rachel noticed that he was wearing the same Chicago Bulls t-shirt he'd worn the day before. Now he glanced at her shyly and busied himself digging into his backpack. You are my you are my Sean Shine, my only Sean Shine, Christopher sang loudly. You make me happy when skies are gray. Leave him alone, Bastan told him. Not funny. Opinion, Christopher grinned. Sean and Bastan had one thing in common. Sean's father, like Bastan's, had served in the Air Force, and Sean's father had left the military years ago. But Bastan said that didn't matter. Air Force is Air Force, once and forever. Sean was the one kid Bastan never picked on, and he wouldn't let anyone else pick on him either. The newest kid in class, Sky Reed, came in last. He had moved from Southern California in January, tall and lanky. Sky had an earring and wore his blonde hair in a long braid. Bastan teased him about the earring, and he and Sky got into a fight on the playground. Nobody won the fight, but Bastan's lip got cut, and after that nobody teased Sky about the earring or anything else. Where's the sub? Tim asked, drumming on his desk. He was another boy who always made Rachel edgy. You watched the high school baseball game? They kicked Southside's butt. Anybody watch Star Trek last night? That was pretty freaky. Hey, so where's the sub? Sub is short for subhuman, Bastan said. Looks like she ditched us. Christopher started to sing. We got ditched by a ditzy submarine, a ditzy submarine. Not funny, Vicky said. Not even close. Opinion, Christopher replied smugly. Mr. Peacock came over the loudspeaker to make the morning announcements. Good morning, he said. Today is Friday, April 28th. Fact, Christopher said. It's a beautiful spring day, Mr. Peacock said. Opinion, Christopher smirked. Shut up, Rhonda told him. Mr. Peacock proceeded to run through the day's business. Sign-ups for jazz band, no cheerleading practice, track meet next Thursday, bring in cans for the food drive, important reminder, no hats allowed in school. Please stand for the pledge, Mr. Peacock said. Kids looked around, unsure of what to do. Bastan got it first. That was the one thing his father had taught him. You stand for the flag. Always. When Bastan stood up, the other boys started getting out of their seats. Soon the whole class was pledging in unison. One nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. They sat down. Still no sub. This lady must be totally clueless, Bastan said loudly, cracking his knuckles. Opinion, Christopher said. It could be a man, Jessica said. Fact, Christopher put in. I'm begging you, Rhonda told Christopher. Shut up. Attendance, Karen said from the front of the class. Who's absent? I am, Christopher said. I wish, Rhonda retorted. John's out, Bastan said. Really? David's not coming in, Robert said. He got an asthma attack yesterday. Melinda's sick too, Vicky said. Rachel watched Karen fill out the attendance, checking off present or absent. Her eyes lit on Tommy Feather's empty desk. There was no place on any attendance form to check off dead. How many hot lunches? Karen said. Who elected you teacher? Bastan demanded. She's class president, Jessica pointed out. That's her job. Hot lunch? Karen asked again, ignoring Bastan. What are they having? Corey asked. You don't want to know, Rhonda said. Greaseball pizza, guaranteed 90% soaked in grease. Karen counted 8 hot lunches, 5 chocolate milks, and 3 white milks. Okay, who wants to bring it to the office? Karen asked. Me. Rachel thought it was funny the way everybody raised their hands by habit, even without a teacher. It made her want to smile, but she didn't. Rachel watched Karen standing there, deciding who to pick. She really admired Karen. The girl was a born leader. Her neat black bangs and dark green eyes gave her a no-nonsense look. People took her seriously. Come to think of it, Karen said, I'll go myself." "No fair," Tim moaned.